Sunday night feels dangerous in the best way. You're clear, you're hungry, you're looking at life like, this is the season that I change everything. And then Monday hits and you still have it. You know, you're walking a little taller, you're thinking faster, and you're already picturing what the next 90 days could look like. And then the week starts swinging. Not because you forgot about your goals, but because work starts demanding pieces of you that you didn't plan on giving away. Meetings that multiply, messages that never stop, and the subtle pressure of being dependable. The mental tab you keep open all day, you can't close even when you clock out of work. So you get home and you tell yourself that you're gonna do the work. You sit down, you stare at the screen, and you negotiate with yourself. The next thing you know, it's Wednesday, and the person you were on Sunday feels so far away. That's not laziness, that's not a lack of desire, that's what I call the midweek fade. It's the moment that your ambition meets real life, and without structure, real life wins by default. But here's the part that nobody tells you. Your job is not a trap, it's training. It's paid practice for the business that you want. The problem is that you have not built a rhythm that protects that momentum after work. So every single week you restart. Today I'm going to show you how to stop fading, how to stop restarting, and how to build a simple system that keeps you in contact with your goals even when your week gets heavy. And with that being said, I want to welcome you to episode 38 of Everything Entrepreneurship with Kyle Jerome Carter. This is the place, this is the home, this is the podcast for ambitious professionals who are chasing their dreams in between meetings, after work, and before the sun rises. I have an amazing episode for you today. I'm not only going to break down the midweek fade and how you can overcome it, but I'm also going to touch on what I've been up to, how the business is going, things I'm fiddling in, as well as I'm going to break down for you all the different ads that you're seeing. Even though they can be annoying, there's a lot that you can learn from them. And then I'm going to end it out by tackling a quick glance at how you can properly name a business, whether it be the actual business name, the tagline, a subtitle, whatever it might be. A lot of people mess up with that, or they just don't do it efficiently, right? But with that being said, we're gonna have an amazing episode. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button, join the family, join the community. I'm excited to dive into it, and I hope you are too. It's a beautiful Tuesday, and with that being said, let's get into it. Now, before we tackle exactly how to get rid of the midweek fade, we must begin where the energy starts, which is the weekend, at least for most people, right? Most people, once the weekend comes, they don't have the responsibility of work, and they say, you know what, I'm gonna lock in, I'm gonna get this thing done. They might do a little bit on Saturday and say, you know what, my week's gonna be so productive, right? It could be they watched an inspiring video on YouTube or on Instagram or TikTok, whatever it might be, where somebody's like, hey, you can do this, like all you need is motivation, like you can do this, you can make this money or whatever, I don't know. Maybe it's a friend or family member that you wanted to start something with, or has something in the past that says, hey, you know what, we can really do this, we can get this off the ground, or you know what, you were talking about this, you can make some money, like this is the time. Right now, in 2026, new year, new you, go after it. But for all the things that get you up, there's also things that get you down. And that's why around halfway through the week, that excitement starts to fade. One of the main things being, most people do the first day, but they realize how much more work it takes to actually accomplish their goal, whether it be just starting. They end up doing way too much research, analysis paralysis, and they just seize up. Or they realize that I have to actually go out and do this thing, or sometimes they look at the time that they have, and they're like, all right, I put a little bit of time aside, but this is going to require more of me than I have to give, right? There's many ways that you can get rid of that excitement, and that's where we get the true name, the midweek fade. But you have to understand that friction in your life and your day-to-day is not proof that your goal was never yours, that you weren't worthy of it. That's just not true. So before I get into step one, step two, do this, do that, let's go a little bit deeper. I want to show you a very common pattern that keeps breaking ambitious professionals. Now, this pattern is based in psychology and rooted from a great book I've talked about on the channel before. Imagine reading this book by Nick Kalinda, one of my favorite authors. In chapter 5, Habits, he breaks down how often when people commit to a goal, that there's a very common rhyme or rhythm as to why they end up just not accomplishing it or saying, you know what, it wasn't even that important in the first place. I've taken that and broken that down or boiled that down to what keeps stopping or just being a hurdle or a blockade for so many ambitious professionals like yourself. So don't mind me if I do reference my notes. I made them specifically for you. But for the most part, the week, the rhythm that people go through looks like this. As I said, before the week starts, you're excited, you know. Sunday comes and you might say, Monday, I'm doing some work. I have it blocked out, I'm gonna do the thing. You might have a little bit of anxiety when it comes to going to work on Monday, but it's not the end of the world, it's okay. And then Monday comes and hey, they said they were gonna do it. Monday was crazy, but they still do the thing, right? Tuesday comes and they have the same energy, but some drama happened at work and they can't do work. They can't get work done after work because their mind is still on that. So they just chop it up and say, you know what, let's call it a day. I'll take care of it tomorrow. So Wednesday comes and let's say you have 30 minutes aside. This is blocked out time after work specifically for that. But again, life starts lifing and you tell yourself, you know what, I'm busy and I'll do it tomorrow again. And then Thursday comes and now it becomes what you call a weird week and things just feel off. Now you have a new deadline at work. You got into a back and forth with somebody, maybe, who knows, things happen. That's the context of real people with real lives and real responsibilities. But that takes a priority in some sense. Thus, the work that you had to do, that excitement, gets put on the back burner. I didn't really need it that much, or you know what, it's okay. And at the end of the week, you start rationalizing with yourself, do I even need to do this? You know what, I'm fine without it. Or you just push it again to the next week. I'll take care of it next week. This is a pattern that so many people fall into and they experience that midweek fade, not because the goals stop mattering, but because once you miss once, you start negotiating. And once you start negotiating, it slowly starts turning into a new identity. An identity from somebody that was going to do the work and accomplish it and move forward to somebody that didn't, that copped out, that made excuses. But that just because that happened that one time or multiple times, you still have it within you that you can change it every single day. It's like most people don't quit by day one. They quit by changing the story they tell themselves after day 2, 3, or 4. We can stay there, but let's go a bit deeper. Like work drains your decision energy. You have a set amount of energy at the beginning of a day, and you have a set amount of decisions that you can make before your brain just starts saying, I don't care. And by the time you get home, your brain is already spent on other people's priorities, mainly your boss. So when it comes time to make decisions to lock in for what you have to do, it makes sense why so many people fall off, or it's excusable and it is negotiable how once they get home, they don't have to get work done. Your environment at home is not designed for building. Environment is one of the most important things, I'd say, outside of yourself, the most important thing that you have to consider as to how you get work done, right? I sound like a broken record at this point, but it's okay. You consistently will give 40, 50, or 60 hours for somebody else, but you can't do that for yourself when you get off work. And that's not because you don't care, but rather because you've given so much to somebody else that it's okay when it's time to give effort to yourself or for your business. And though that might be what happens, that doesn't mean that that's right or correct. You rely on motivation instead of a container. This is why we have structure. This is why I teach structured entrepreneurship. Motivation is emotional fuel, and it burns fast when life gets loud. You can't rely on motivation. You need to have structure around your life the same way you have structure around work. And when you have structure around your business, you'll find that it's easier to get things done because you already have the momentum, not the motivation. You might be saying, I'm inconsistent, I'm not disciplined, I don't want it enough. But really what you should be saying to yourself is, I'm not failing. My week is just unprotected. And this is not the end of the road. This is actually fixable. Like, you have to understand that you can fix this. If you make a mistake, you can make it right. This is your life. This is your future. There's no right way to go through life. So if you fall off, if you start to fade, that doesn't mean that you don't care. That doesn't mean that you don't want it. Here's what I need you to hear. The midweek fade is not proof that you're lazy. It's proof that your life has momentum and your goals don't have a container. You're trying to build a business on top of a week that was designed to drain you. Work takes your best attention, life takes your remaining energy, and then you ask your goals to survive off motivation, and that's just not how things go. Motivation is emotional. It's not built for Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So when you fade, don't make it a character story, make it a design story, because a design can be fixed. But here's the reframe that changes everything. What I'm saying is you don't need 7 consistent days to be perfect, but rather you only need 2 protected anchor days, because the midweek fade is not about your desire, it's about your week. And when your week has no anchors, your goals are competing with everything. And when your week has anchors, your goals have a place to live. I'm not saying do more, I'm simply saying stop asking motivation to carry the weight that structure is supposed to carry. Now let's translate this into something that you can use today. So let me break down the 5 steps that you can follow so you can get rid of the midweek fade this week or next week, depending on how you start your weeks. Because again, technically you don't have to start, whatever. Step number 1, like I said, you're going to need 2 anchor days. So you have to pick 2 days that you can apply this to, so long as the days are not next to each other, but at least 1 day apart. So obviously that means something like a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. It could be Wednesday, Friday, Wednesday, Saturday, it doesn't matter. But you're going to select the 2 days and you're going to apply and block out time for them. Step number 2, you're going to basically assign the first day and the second day differently. The first day is going to be a build day. The second day is going to be an activities day. On the build day, you're going to do things like gathering your resources, doing research, reading books, whatever it is to cultivate and put together what it is you're trying to do. And the second day is when you actually follow through on the activities. If you have to make cold calls, if you have to actually go out door knocking, if you have to actually sell your product, if you have to attend an event, whatever it might be. Day 1 of those 2 anchor days is to put everything together. And day 2 is to actually execute and do the thing so you can get results as to how it went and what you did right and what you did wrong, right? Briefly, before I get to step 3, if you follow me, you're going to find this is a much lesser version of my my reset ritual, which is the 5 to 9 guide of what you need to do to follow through on whatever it is you have to do for your business. No matter how much time or how little time you have, I understand you're a real person and the reset ritual is going to get it done. But that requires just a little bit more than 2 days. And because of that, the people that have less than 2 days, this is what you do to get rid of that midweek fade. Now, step number 3. Step number 3 is these are 45-minute periods that you're blocking out. Make sure that it is 45 minutes that's uninterrupted. I'm talking do not disturb. I'm talking everything on silent, not even vibrate. Tell your family, your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your best friend, do not disturb me during this time. You set things up in your week so that even though people rely on you, this time is blocked out. If you have 45 minutes for Netflix, if you have 45 minutes for TikTok, if you have 45 minutes for everything in the world, you have 9 to 5 for your employer. You have 45 minutes for yourself. You have to find it. And if you don't find it, you need to make it. And then number 3, you want to make sure that you're active throughout the week. So not the 2 anchor days. Let's say we chose Monday and Wednesday. That means on every other day that's not Monday or Wednesday, you're going to take 2 to 5 minutes to touch on, refresh, look at, look into, apply, do something of a lesser level than those 2 anchor days. We don't want you to, and again, this is just for the lesser version. For the reset ritual, it's different. If you want that, I might do a dedicated video on it here or just a little bit deeper, something like that. But for right now, just do something towards your business. You don't want it to go, let's say you do Monday, Wednesday, and then after Wednesday, you don't touch it until Monday. That's what? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 4 days before it gets touched again. You have to make sure that you touch on it every single day in some capacity. It doesn't have to be all out. It doesn't have to be crazy, just something. And step 5 is just a promise that you're going to make to yourself, that you're going to run these 2 anchor days for the next 2 weeks so that you can see that this works and your midweek fade is going to go away. That same energy that you have in the weekend, that same energy that you have going into the work week, by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to be like, oh, I still got it. I'm good. I feel I got this work done. I got my time blocked out. It's non-negotiable. It's okay because I already let everybody know. You're going to realize that you don't just feel good, but the work's getting done. And when the work's getting done, you're progressing forward. And when you're progressing forward, chances are you're executing. And if you're executing, you're making money. So with that being said, remember that messing up or failing does not mean that you're a failure. Life happens. We all get thrown off. But it's about understanding that, having protected time, and realizing that you are capable. The version of yourself that's completing everything, the version of yourself that you see at the end is there for a reason. And you can come into that, you can become that, grow into that by focusing one step at a time. It's not going to be freedom. It's not going to be constraint. It's going to be structure. And that's why I teach structured entrepreneurship. But with that being said, I feel like I'm going to go deeper on this topic later on in a deep dive video. Make sure that you're checking the channel for that. I just wanted to touch on it now for the podcast. But with that being said, we can transition over to the next segment of what's KJC been up to? How's business? How's life, right? Let's make this a real podcast, not so stern and structured. Let me give you some life, right? Because I got life to give. So KJC, what you been up to? That's the question everybody wants to know. Psych. No, some people do. I get a lot of messages like, how you been? What are you up to? What are you working on? I've been working with these real estate brokerages, if you've been following the channel, and I'm really excited from the workshop I already done to the ones that I have scheduled and just what I'm building out for brokerages and their agents. It's fun to not only follow this process step by step from beginning to end, but also to affect change and to reignite the drive. That's the main thing, especially in these workshops. Broker owners, hey, if I could do one thing, I'd reignite the drive in my agents. I can do everything except for win it for them. And to be able to research what's going to work, go out in the field and apply it and get the responses back of people that are like, wow, this affected me. I feel motivated. And then I'm able to get responses back. No, they're actually moving forward, doing these things, securing deals. It's really fun. It's exciting, Real estate's never been my passion, but business is. So whereas I even built this out just to test something, it's becoming a real company. You feel me? I have a couple more meetings this week with broker owners, some to follow up with, some to actually schedule a workshop, some to actually beta the operating system that I'm working on for the agents. It's just so much fun, The project that we're working on, like I said, is coming along. I'm so excited for that. It puts me in a couple different buckets. Can't speak on that completely right now. And just in general, I just like the way things are moving, especially to start off the year. Though, as I say before, and even as I say when I'm talking to people now, you don't need a new year. You don't need a new month. You don't need a new week. You don't need Monday or Sunday to start. You just need to go. Go and focus on worrying about your best next step, as I always say, and apply some structure. So the fact that I have to practice what I preach, I preach what I preach because I practice it and I put it together for you. But when I get to practice what I preach and then show you guys, it's so much fun. I got some footage already. I plan on putting out, whether it's just like a day in the life of me or just who I'm helping, how I'm helping them. I'm going through the footage to see exactly how I want to leverage it. But right now, I'm excited, man. I was thinking about adding a segment of the best ad and the worst ad that I've seen throughout the week and then sharing it with you guys. As I see so many ads, and I know you guys see them too, depending on your interests and stuff like that, but I see so many ads that I'm just like, golly. First off, so many people are lying, so many people are exaggerating, embellishing, just stretching the truth. And they're paying the money and they keep paying them money. They must be getting some sort of return, you feel me? But I don't like what that does to the consumer or the uneducated consumer, right? For instance, one ad stood out to me this week, and it was a guy for a company that basically said, hey, have you ever had an ad pop up on your feed or your browser after you were just talking about something, right? I believe in his example was I got my pool in this place last year, and we found out that during the springtime, leaves fall into the pool, and I was telling my spouse how I need a pool cleaner. And the next thing you know, pool cleaner popped up. And then he proceeded to say, that's through a DSP, not a DSP for like streaming and stuff like that, but for ads. And he basically went on to say, if you want to learn more about how we can do that for you, click the link below. And anybody that knows DSPs will understand to some extent, it's not this new thing, right? So there's a lot of conflict online because people are like, they're listening to us and all this stuff. And that's true, but it's also false, right? So what they like to say is, if we were listening to you guys, the batteries on your devices and your phones will be drained. So we're not listening to you, right? Even though you give them permission to use your microphone, a lot of these companies that you give permission to, whether it be apps, websites, whatever it might be, will say, no, we don't tap into your microphone. But rather, something like Alexis or Google always has to be on standby, listening to your voice when you make a command, right? I'm not going to make the prompts now because that'll make my devices say, what's popping? But rather, an explanation for when you speak about something and the next thing you get serviced an ad is much deeper, right? I was thinking about making a specific video on this because I want to dive a little bit deeper past what I already know. But from what I know to an extent is it's just hyper targeted ads. I'm talking hyper targeted, damn near predictable, right? For example, if I was to buy a car in 3 months, 4 months, 2 months, 6 days, and 5 hours, I might get an ad specifically for something, a device within my car, whether it's a charger, whether it's to clean my car, keep it up in top shape, whatever it might be. There are companies that go off of intent data in which they look at your patterns, they look at your profile online and say, hey, I want to service ads to this specific demographic, this age, this income. You know, they've been in the market for, or they recently purchased X, Y, or Z item. And we know traditionally from our data, our first party data, that after this amount of time, they typically look for a new purchase of this. So for instance, let's say the device is aftermarket headlights. They'll say, we know that buyers of this make and model between this year and that year that are in this demographic, this age, male, 30s, making this much money, will typically, after they get a car, they'll search online and be in the market for an aftermarket lights, because by that time they've done some research, they've used it, whatever it might be. And that's actually how the ads will be serviced. As well as, and again, I'm going to bring up Nick Kalinda. I wish I could reference the exact video or exactly where he said it. And he's not the pioneer of this, but I remember him more recently than anybody else that basically said, some ads are actually more beneficial when you don't notice them. Your subconscious notices, but you don't. And because you don't actively notice, or you don't remember that you were serviced an ad, you were actually retargeted with a warmer message. Thus, it can feel like your device is listening to you, but actually it's just super hyper targeted. Like down to, like they have their customer journey down to a T, right? Which is crazy because when we go back to, quick tangent, I know I make a lot of tangents sometimes. If we go back to the workshops that I'm putting on for the real estate agents, one of the main things I focus on is the season of which your customer is in. People use a funnel, it is what it is. I like to use a customer journey. And once somebody enters in a season, in this instance, my season of buying a vehicle for that maker of aftermarket lights, that season doesn't end when I buy the vehicle. In some instances, that's like mid-funnel or mid-journey, right? Same thing with a real estate agent. If you're looking to talk to people that are selling a home or buying a home, investing in a home, renting a home. Understanding where a person is in that consumer journey is crucial. And the messages that you give somebody at that certain time are huge. So going back to the DSPs or that ad, it was misleading because he's making it seem like it's this thing. But in reality, technically, to some extent, Google Ads is a DSP. Facebook Ad Manager is a DSP, right? There's so much more depth to it. That's why I said I might do a proper video. But that stood out to me. Not as a good ad or bad ad, but just like, it just had me, my eye was twitching a little bit, you feel me? Just because I understand how certain things work and I understand how people are going to leverage parts of information to get your attention. And if they can get your attention, there's a chance they might be able to get you money, right? And everybody has to make money somehow, but I'm like, golly, what else is happening? I had a friend, business owner, reach out to me like, hey, KJC, got this guy, he's calling me, harassing me, trying to do marketing, right? And he said that he can make me $100,000. I didn't tell him anything about it. He just said, I'm like, bro. He said he's a CEO. He can make me $100,000, and he called me broke because I didn't want to proceed. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like that's so unprofessional. Like to just assume somebody's broke because they don't want to take you up on your scam, right? Chances are, if they're the CEO calling, if they're the CEO call and they can make you $100,000 and they've done it for a similar business in another state, no, these companies that make these big claims, some of them can do it. You know, you have a couple out there that are like, golly, you really got a nice rhyme or rhythm. You know, you got the system. But in the conversation, I told him, I'm like, no, don't listen to that. If they had said, you know what, let me come in, let me have a conversation with you. And let's have an understanding of your numbers, your profit margins, and X, Y, and Z, what you've done, what you've wanted to do, and then this is what we do. I believe for them, they were just getting leads. I think it was by way of social media, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter what their tactic is, but in order to make such a big claim, you have to understand the business and who you're talking to. That was more so probably just an anchor to get them in or get him on the phone. But once somebody starts to go down the path to say no, you insult them and say they're broke. When they're making, I don't know, that stuck out to me as well. Don't listen to all these big promises because chances are they're just that. They're just big promises. And after looking at their website, they said they've served thousands. When people make claims of serving thousands, and then when it comes to testimonials, they have 2 or 3. It's like, no, they probably, I don't know, but they probably convinced the business owners to spend thousands on ads, maybe a couple $100 a day. And of the, let's say maybe 50 or 30 people that they had 2 that stood out. And those are the ones that they said, hey, can you read this script verbatim and tell them how good we did for you? And then now we can leverage that and just multiply by 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 of all the customers that we had. There's just so many things out there that you got to do your due diligence, you know. You want to really look for or look into the authenticity of a person when they're presenting something online in whatever shape or form or fashion it might be. As people say, we're in this trust recession. That's cool. And as AI comes, I could be AI technically. That'd be crazy if this whole podcast episode was just AI KJC and I was just over there just chilling, relaxing, drinking some coffee. That would be crazy. But there's so many things that you have to be aware of online. And I believe people keep saying authenticity. Yes, to an extent. But at the same time, and this just keeps evolving each week to week, right? One week might change to the next week. It's not just authenticity, but it's showing up and being able to show behind the scenes to some extent that people are going to understand, like, I don't need to just take what you say at face value. What else you got, right? But that's a little update on me, KJC, right? And as I said before, I'm going to give you guys some advice on how to name your businesses properly. I'm in a lot of different groups, communities, and stuff like that, and just talk to people every day. And then on top of that, there's people I don't talk to, but I see every day, or I might even see them online or in other groups and stuff like that. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it might be. And people, I'm not sure. If you want to start a business, it should be wise to understand how you name it or the tagline you associate with it. Just because a business idea sounds nice to me and there's an inside joke that me and my friend have doesn't mean that that's going to be the best thing to put forward to consumers in the marketplace when it comes to a name, right? So this real estate thing that I have is Ramos, REAMOS, real estate agent marketing operating system, right? Now that's corny to some extent, but as it pertains to SEO, it's efficient, right? The tagline could be more efficient. Take it away from me. If somebody says, I'm going to start an electronics store, I'm going to sell refurbished iPads and laptops, I could say, this is KJC's backdoor electric sales. Why did I do that? Because everybody knows there's this thing that I sell stuff from the back door. Like, no, you have to be smart and strategic as to how you name your business. Think long term. And some people, they start just a side hustle or business with no intent to take it all the way through or to really make the profit that they say they want to make, or even exit the business, which is understandable because they could just be them. Like I said before, it can be you, your family member, your friend. You make an idea and you say, oh, this is it. You need to be more strategic when you name your business. There's a lot of different SEO, GEO, LLM attributes you have to think about when it comes to the name of a company or name of a business. Many times, and again, it varies industry to industry, product, service, system, content, but a good best practice is to include the name of either your area, if it's a service-based business, brick and mortar, or the name of the industry or the thing you're selling, right? So, real estate agent marketing operating system. Any variation of those different words within that title are all keywords. And as I use them in different places, allows me to reach further. That's basically what your name and your tagline are doing. They're allowing it to reach further than exactly where it is. If these search engines and these LLMs are searching the web to find what's the number one thing that they're going to rank at the top, it has to be in line with what people are searching, right? So if somebody has a restaurant and their son or daughter loves an animal like snakes or bears, you don't put that in the name of the business just because they're a kid. I'm starting this from my kid and it's cute. Okay, it can still be cute, but it also has to work and be effective. You have to think long term, right? Keep things congruent, keep things consistent. If you have an S at the end of one of the words in your title, it needs to be consistent throughout. You can't have it with an S, without an S, with a hyphen, without a hyphen. There are a lot of like small things that contribute to the effectiveness of the name, because what you want to do, you want to give your business the best chance to reach more people when you're not actively working on it. And if you're a person that's not going to be using paid methods to extend your reach and your audience, then you have to rely on organic methods. And some of the best organic methods are the foundations of what you start and put into your business. So with that being said, be a little bit more open-minded as to what you're going to name your business for efficiency's sake, so it can do more work for you when you're not there in the event that you don't want to pay money, right? Because hey, if you're going to pay money to show up in front of people, run some ads, then it doesn't really matter as long as you just keep on spending money. But if that's not the boat you want to be in, then you might want to think otherwise. So yeah. Well, with that being said, I think this is a good spot to end the episode. Yeah, this was fun. Like I said, I want to establish these episodes as podcast episodes, not only giving you something that you can apply today that will help you now, but will also help you in the future, but also just incorporate you guys on this journey. And I want your feedback so I can benefit you, right? If you are a subscriber already, comment the word subscribe, because YouTube's algorithm has been a little crazy in how it's been pushing out videos to people that follow you, that don't follow you. And whereas I do want to reach more people, I do care about the core audience I have. So if you already do subscribe to me, hit the word subscribe to let me know that you were able to, that this showed up, right? If not, then obviously you're not seeing this video. But with that being said, remember, you don't need motivation. You don't need perfection. All you need is structure, structured entrepreneurship. And it's not about accomplishing everything in one day. It's about focusing on your best next step and to keep moving forward. So that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Look out for my other videos. If you have not already, hit that subscribe. And if you know somebody else that could benefit from this, send this to them as well. But with that being said, I hope you have a good rest of your week. This is Kyle Jerome Carter. This has been the Everything Entrepreneurship Podcast, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.